Welcome back to We Like That podcast.
Because we like that. I'm Joe.
And I'm Calvin.
And this is We Like That podcast.
Because we like that. Boogadoo?
How was your week?
Fine.
Are you surviving all this heat wave?
This is really not that hot.
Okay. All right.
I don't know why you people think it's so hot.
Because it's in the triple digits for where we're at. We're in the DMV. We don't hit the triple digits over here.
We get to 95 all the time.
In the heat index, yeah. But
And
our
then
heat index is like 110.
Sometimes we hit hundreds. That's normal around
But
here.
it's not. The
Okay.
hundreds is not normal.
Okay, so we act like, okay, sure. We'll be going over what? Love in Paradise?
Yeah. You got the notes up, Calvin?
Yes.
Okay.
The Dirty D. Oh my
Mhm.
God. And worth a watch is American Sweethearts, the Dallas Cowboys Cheerleading Netflix series, which women sexize themselves and complain about it.
Did you create a new word, sex
Yeah.
size?
Yep.
Interesting.
I also trademarked it. So, booyah.
So you got to put TM at the end of it every time you say it?
Yep.
Good to know.
But first, we're going over the good, not so good, the bads, not so bads, and the ugly, and the ooh-wees. And that happened with Joe.
Oh, okay. Different music for me. All right. So I have catch up with the Never Ever Mets on here, but I did not catch up with it. So
You didn't
the
catch up?
final episode, I think, finally dropped, but I have not had a chance to watch it. So that'll get talked about later.
What do you think happened?
I think our old couple did get engaged. I think that went through. I think our light-skinned couple are probably still moving forward in trying to have a healthy dynamic in their relationship. I think our other couple that were dating online for like 12 years, but just met in person finally, I think they're also moving towards moving in together. I think they're going to continue in that space. I am hoping, I know it's not going to happen, but I'm hoping that Chris and Sandia break up. And I'm also hoping that Jody and Aaron break up.
Wow, you don't remember none of the good couples' names, but the horror couple. Well,
Millie and Greg.
the old couple name is Diamond and Aaron.
And yeah, he's another
old
Aaron.
ass Aaron Hall.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, okay.
And then it's Millie and Greg, I think.
I second what you said.
Okay.
I hope Jody and Chris get together.
That's not going to happen.
I hope that happens.
Guys like Chris talk about how they want girls like Jody, but they're
And
never going to date a girl like Jody.
Then become miserable. That's my prayer.
What a thing to pray for. All right, so, but moving on. Do you know Justin Timberlake got arrested?
Yep.
It was big news because the gentleman that arrested him had no idea who he was. And that just tickled a lot of folk, myself included. People are calling it his latest karmic tour, 2024 being his karmic tour. It's been very interesting for Justin Timberlake recently. He's been getting a lot of hits, a lot of knocks. And now this.
He said, I can't wait to get pulled over for a DUI.
It's very interesting.
Because he didn't have on his suit and tie. That's why he didn't get recognized.
The kid is 23. He doesn't know who NSYNC is, let alone Justin Timberlake. Allegedly.
He's had a hit in his 23 years, though.
Yeah, but was he cognizant of it? Like, that's the point.
He danced to suit and tie. He just didn't know who the hell. He thought it was just a Jay-Z song, probably.
I don't even know if he knows who Jay-Z is. So, that happened.
That person doesn't have a TV or a radio.
Calvin, you act like Jay-Z put out an album yesterday. He has not.
Touche.
Anywho, Kendrick Lamar also upped his petty game recently. Amazon Prime released his concert that he had recently in LA, where he then sang They Not Like Us 5 times and had many people in the audience screaming how Drake was a pedophile. It was very interesting.
Oh, my God.
It was very interesting. People are calling it diabolical. I find it hilarious. So, yeah, that's what's going on.
Sure.
They're like, he's putting West Coast back on the map. I'm like, excuse me?
Sure he is.
Excuse me? West Coast has always been the best coast. I don't know what we're talking about here.
Okay, now who's delusional?
You don't got no stake in this game, Southern boy.
I got a lot of stake in the game.
You're not from the East Coast.
The South got something to say. That's all I got to say.
Okay. Which, back to the coasts. Anywho.
The South is running the game. That's all you
The South is no longer running the game.
Who's running the game then?
Honestly, I think East Coast is. Honestly. To be frank with you. That's where a lot of the new artists are coming out of right now.
Keep telling yourself that.
You tell me who a new Southern artist is, please.
We don't need
exactly.
no new Southern artist. It's
exactly.
still Southern.
Southern?
Yeah, it's still the Southern sound that everybody's using. So, yeah.
You complain about how no one's using that sound. It's all electronica.
They're all still using the Southern trap beat sound.
Okay, anyway. So,
because they're not like us. How about that?
Which is a West Coast song. Hilarious.
They're not like the South. They're not like the South.
You can't co-op a West Coast sound and then say it's the South. Anyway.
You do it to us all the time.
How do we do it to you all the time?
Because y'all always singing in B minor.
That doesn't make sense, Calvin. That doesn't make any sense. Also, they can't see you dancing. So.
They got the effect.
Okay. Anywho, moving on. Perfect Match ended. Perfect Match has been a very interesting run on Netflix. I thought it was a dating show. It's not really a dating show. I'm very confused by what the heck Perfect Match is supposed to be. So.
You're looking at me like I
have no idea what that even is. It hit my radar because there was controversy over whether or not somebody was gaslighting somebody else. There's several people who are from Love is Blind, which is a show I do follow, who are on Perfect Match.
Over your mind.
Who are on Perfect Match. And there was some stuff about how one of the contestants from Love is Blind got into a relationship with somebody from the Perfect Match, and this person may or may not have stepped out and made out with somebody. They denied it. This guy named Harry denied that he made out with this girl named Melinda during one of the excursions. But the way he was denying it didn't make sense because he was like, there's no footage of it, so it's not true. Not that he didn't do it, just there's no footage of it.
Why do we get surprised when these people on these shows cheat or do something they're not supposed to do? That's what they're there for.
They knew that he would because apparently that's his signature thing. He was on another dating show for Netflix where he did the same thing.
Okay, then. So what's the shock?
The shock is that the person he decided to pair up with is pretty no nonsense. This is a girl who's like, I'm not about games, yada, yada, yada. And he was pretty devoted to her for most of the show. And then this incident occurs. And she's like, I look like a damn clown. And she takes herself out of the running. She takes herself out of the game after all of that. But it was because nobody believed this black girl, Melinda. The internet, a lot of people were saying that Melinda was making stuff up, that he never kissed her. She just wanted screen time. And then Netflix, being petty, finally showed the footage of when all this went down and what happened. And he absolutely did kiss her. So that all happened with Perfect Match. Also, the most random couple won it. It was so bizarre.
I think he's probably been kissing everybody on that show.
For sure.
So he wasn't faithful to the girls. I don't take bullshit.
But the controversy was, even though people knew he had that about him, they still believed him over the black woman. And the black woman was right. That was what the controversy was. You had a black woman being like, this is what happened to me. And it was a lot of the internet being like, no, it didn't. So, and then it did. So it was just very interesting.
The internet is not the place for discourse.
I agree. So, that's it. That's all I got for Dat Happened, unless you have anything else.
Women be lying. That's all I have.
Oh, okay. Do you want to intro the next segment?
But then they tell the truth. So we're going to go over... my thing.
All right, our next segment is Worth the Watch. America's Sweethearts, the Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders.
Thank you. My computer's locked.
There's actually 7 episodes, I believe, of the show. We got through 4. And it's very telling. It's very interesting. The dynamic the DCC, as they call themselves, has.
So, really, if you go sports team cheerleaders, the only 2 that really come to mind that you think of are the Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders and the Laker girls. Laker girls or Lakerettes, whatever they call them. So, I can see why they're the prestige.
They don't call them Lakerettes. They're the Laker.
Oh,
they're the Laker girls.
Or whatever. I can see why everybody in the organization has the same mindset and the prestige. And people outside see them in the way they see them.
Do they though? Like we're outside of the organization. I can't think of a time that we had a conversation around, let's talk about
the
cheerleaders.
Women who want to be cheerleaders, I see why they look at those two franchises.
They didn't even mention the Laker girls. You did.
The Laker girls,
but they didn't.
Are the only other cheerleader squad that you think about.
Okay, but they never established that. You did.
They're not going to. It's not about them. It's about them.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. We're talking about the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders.
I'm just saying, when you think about cheerleading squads.
For you, the ones that stand out is Laker girls and them.
So I can see why the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders see themselves the way they see themselves.
Here's my thing. I thought that so this is basically a docuseries that's on Netflix. It's supposed to show us the behind the scenes of how these girls try out to become these cheerleaders, and then eventually the aftermath of that, the ones that make it what their lives look like in this organization. Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders have had reality shows before about the tryout process.
Numerous times.
Well, several seasons of it. I think it just ended in 2022. They've had several seasons on CMT about the process.
I guess because it was on Country Music Channel, that's why.
Well, the other thing about it being on the Country Music Channel is they had a lot more control in terms of scope of what got told. So it was very much American Idol. It wasn't like what we're seeing now, where we're getting the contestants' point of views as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it was a little more favorable coming out through CMT. It's still pretty favorable coming out on Netflix, but you also get to see a little more of the other side of all of that dynamic. What stood out to me about all of this was, one, how prestigious everybody thinks this is, which is very interesting. You have the director, this woman named Kelly, outright saying that there's not a lot of opportunities for you to perform at an elite level as a dancer. And I could not understand what she was talking about, or why elite level also includes the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. That was blowing my mind. Then we also have the talent that are coming out to do what they're doing, and they all also feed into that narrative of this is the height of everything I want in my life. All of these girls are young. They're anywhere from 18 to maybe their early 30s trying to do this. And there's a very small window of who's accepted, who's not. We get into the aesthetics and the performance levels that they say that are required, but then we also see how the goalposts for all of those achievements keep moving. It's never one thing. It's a lot of unspoken things that make somebody win or get on the team or get cut. Part of that process as well is how they open it up to judges. They have a part in there where, the first round of tryouts, where they're like, okay, we have a judges panel that's going to be watching you. And the judges panel is the most random collection of people to judge these women on their performance and their magnetic ability. You've got an influencer, a social media influencer, who says he's a lifestyle and wellness coach. You've got a dude who's a representative for a shoe brand. We've got a meteorologist. And it's like, what?
That dude makes their boots, I'm assuming. He's the guy that they get their boots from.
They don't say that.
But
they
I'm
don't
pretty
say
sure
that.
That's who he is.
But the boots they have are not boots. They're dance boots.
He still can be the ones that create and does the product for them.
It's just very interesting. Also, what does he know about dance?
That's one of the deals, probably.
Mm-hmm.
One of the perks he gets.
It's just really random that this is their judging panel that can make or break these girls. It's very interesting. Because then we have somebody who actually understands what it looks like to perform like that. Maybe not dancing, but perform at a level where everybody's watching you and they're looking for you for your performance and your aesthetic. Emmett Smith eventually comes out to do whatever he's doing for an anniversary program for Dallas Cowboys.
There to give encouragement.
But when he first comes out and he's talking to the director for the cheerleader girls, she's like, we're going to add you to our judges panel for this next round of cuts, basically. Let us know which girls stand out to you. And he immediately says no. He immediately says, I don't have any background in what these girls are doing. What does it look like me coming from a completely different background telling these girls what's good and what's not? I'm not going to do it. And I was like, okay. All right, Emmett Smith. So
Emmett Smith doesn't want to be the ones that puts he doesn't want to take that responsibility for being the one that subjects someone to the probably the worst day time of their life.
Yeah, he compared it to a catastrophe. He's like, why would I be the one that initiates a catastrophe for these girls? I was like,
Especially when
yeah.
I'm not qualified and don't know what the hell they're doing. Because I'm just gonna pick off looks, and that's messed up to me.
It's what, but it's a lot of it is looks. A lot of it, when they're talking about what they're going to do with these girls, is looks. They call it aesthetics.
But it looks to me like Emmitt Smith didn't want to do it anyway, so he's like, I got other stuff to do in my life right now.
Sure, but they call it aesthetics. But it is a lot of it is looks. The size that they measure them when they go to do these uniforms for whatever they're fitting, they tell them it's still kind of size to them. So if they're quote unquote curvy, they got to make allowances for like tops and whatnot. Or if they have a little bit more booty, they got to make allowances for that. But for the most part, all of the sizing of the uniforms are like one size, and they're not going to increase it. They might decrease it. But then there's also this dynamic where they're like, you can't get big, you can't get bulky, you can't be fat, but we also need you to fuel yourself. And they complain when girls look tired or they have low energy, or they talk about how like they have concerns about these girls getting eating disorders, but they're still pushing this rhetoric that they have to be teeny tiny to continue the aesthetic that they're pushing for. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Not really. This is what you want. This is what you got to do. You get to say yay or nay.
So the other thing,
you can try to find another. I'm assuming the reason they're doing this because if they still want to continue dance or whatever cheer, having Dallas cheerleader on your resume looks way better than having any other thing on your resume. Having Laker girl on your resume probably stands out more than having any other cheerleading thing on your resume.
So here's my thing. Though.
That girl was in Golden State, right? She danced for Golden State.
Yes.
Obviously, no one cared.
Uh-huh.
But if she put dancing with Dallas cheerleading on her thing, it probably looks better.
Resume for what? She's an orthopedic surgeon. Resume for what?
Obviously, she wants to dance.
I'm just saying.
God gave her the gift of dance, and by George, she's going to do it.
At least up to episode 4, what they've established is that a lot of these girls, the pinnacle of their careers is being a Dallas cheerleader, Dallas Cowboy cheerleader. That's the pinnacle. There's a lot of these girls that are like, I don't know what to do now. I feel like I've hit the highest I can go. You have other girls who are like, I don't have any other plans other than being a Dallas cheerleader. So now I'm kind of scrambling to figure out what that is. We have people who are in the tryouts who understand that the money they're making as a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader is not going to be enough for them to live on. So they have other hustles that they're doing. If not, they have a full outright careers. It's the other thing that I'm learning about this organization is that they treat it like it's not a job. They have this sentimentality that it's not a job. You're volunteering your time to be here. It's something that's bigger than you. Like it's almost a sorority. It's not really an employment organization, but it is. And then they don't understand why people want more money for what they're doing. When they're putting their bodies on the line, we're hearing stories about girls who are in their 20s getting hip surgery, neck surgery, back surgery because of all of the requirements, the strenuous situations their bodies are put in for the choreography. It's a very interesting to me.
I am not gonna besmirch the organization with people willingly wanting to put their bodies on the line for this stupid shit.
You're not gonna besmirch it, but you're gonna call it stupid.
It's stupid because no one goes. I'm going to the Dallas Cowboys game today to see the Dallas cheerleading girls. No one says that. But they go for the stadium because the stadium is state of the art,
mm-hmm.
and for the game.
Mm-hmm.
No one goes for the cheerleaders. So if you buy into that crap, that's on you.
But so that's the other thing.
These girls are from that
world.
From that world.
But some of these girls are not. So I thought it would be girls who were in dance or in cheer from Texas. You've got people from completely other states
because
that for whatever reason have also idolized.
They're
DCC.
from that world because I'm pretty sure when people talk about cheerleading, especially when it's sports, they only really talk about two franchises for sports. It's the Dallas cheerleading girls. You see them everywhere, and the Laker girls. That's why like that girl was with Golden State. I guarantee you, if she could have been a Laker girl while she was doing Golden State, and she was like the Golden State and Lakers played, and the Lakers cheerleading coach came up, I like you. You should come join us. She would have left in a heartbeat and went and danced with the Lakers girls.
We're talking about the Dallas Cowboys
But
cheerleaders.
what I'm saying to you is that's the level.
I understand you like the Laker girls, but we're talking about the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders.
No, because those are the only two I can think of that are that.
My
that
thing
when
is,
you think about
you're
cheerleading
looking at it through like a career perspective, but for whatever reason, these girls are not looking at it as a career perspective. They're not.
It's the prestige. That's it. It's the prestige. I can say I was a Laker girl. Now, somebody said that on a date with me, I wouldn't give two shits.
So it's a prestige for who? So that's my other question. If it is this prestige, who is it for?
For them in that genre of cheerleading and dance.
It's
if
very
they say that, people are like, ooh.
Right now, from the few episodes we got,
that's all
I don't think the cost for this prestige is matching what you get back at all, in my opinion. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me looking at it in terms of like what your investment is and what your return is. It's not computing.
You're correct. It isn't. It doesn't. But for those people, it does because they're from that world. You're not in that world. You don't think
the
that
other
world.
thing that's confusing me is in this day and age of 2024, with conversations around women's bodies, this upward trend of going back to like heroin chic thin that I grew up with in the 90s. It's concerning that we still have such a large amount of people that are like, yeah, anything it takes to be thin. Anything it takes to be thin.
Because no one cares about cheerleading or dance.
Honestly, I don't think anybody cares about women and their health. So anyway.
But it's cheer and dance. That's a choice you make. So people like, that's whatever.
Even the history of how they like Dallas cheerleaders put themselves on the map. We get a little history lesson about how like back in 1972, Dallas Cowboys were one of the only teams that had a cheerleading team as well. They make it onto television. The cameramen pan to the girls that are dancing on the sideline. One of the girls turns to the camera, smile on her face, winks at the camera, and it kicks off. It kicks off an interest, apparently, where people were like heavily invested in seeing these women in teeny tiny outfits dancing. But it also, I think, set the tone. Because in my opinion, it feels like they're trying to keep that 1972 charisma to now. And it's woefully outdated, in my opinion.
Well, it's outdated for you, working for them.
Is it working, though, is the other question. Is it working for them? We got a story about a girl whose father took his own life, and she continued dancing with the cheerleading squad because she didn't want to lose her spot.
Seems like to me, it's working because they got girls. They don't have to hunt for girls.
The other dynamic I don't understand is this director who simultaneously is super hyper critical of these girls. And then on the other hand, empathetic. She's like tearing up in the confessionals about how she wishes it wasn't that way. She's a person empowered where she could make a change, but she feels like it's out of her control. It's very weird.
Javon, she's not going to be able to change anything because at the end of the day, it's all about the bottom line. So they're making money.
But okay,
as soon as you try to change the dynamic and they stop making money, she's gone.
So the other thing is, I know in the NFL they've introduced male cheerleaders into some of the teams. I know Dallas Cowboys is not one of them.
Of course not. Why?
Right. But I want to say the Steelers have male cheerleaders on their team.
And no one cares about this.
But that's my other point. Nobody cares. So if we have a dynamic where people enjoy the entertainment when they're there live, because you don't really get to see it on TV. We don't get huge takeaways to just watch the cheerleaders perform. If nobody really cares, and it's really just aesthetic to the game, it's really only for the live parts of the game, why can't we lessen some of these restrictions for these girls that are in DCC? Why can't we look at it through a more modern lens?
Because they're not DCC.
Oh, these other teams you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. I just find it very hypercritical.
Period. Just like in the NBA, nobody's the Laker girls. Period. That's why.
I like how you keep going back to the LA Laker girls.
Because I'm a basketball person. I really don't watch too much football.
Okay.
And that's the equivalent.
What did you think of them randomly showing us that mega church? What did you think that was to establish?
Brainwashing.
Okay, I thought so too. I thought so as well because there's a lot of girls from DCC who are involved in this like church called Dallas Social. That's a mega church. Mega churches give me the
Can we
ick.
stop calling it a church?
Mega churches give me the ick.
It's not a church.
They say it is.
It's a non-taxable corporation.
Or not for profit corporation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's not a church. Nothing about that. What I saw says church.
I felt
Or
like it said
religion of
everything about
No.
being in Dallas. That's what I thought.
Yes,
I thought it like really laid out the
Yeah.
picture of what it is to be in Dallas.
Dallas.
Yes.
Yes.
That's what I thought. Like they're like church, God, and guns. Yeah,
They didn't say guns.
but it's implied. It's
The
implied.
church. It's the Dallas football part that was implied.
It was just very interesting to see these Dallas cheerleader girls who we know the struggles that these girls are, or some of the struggles these girls are going through. They find themselves in this church and they just really like this church because they feel like so welcomed and loved. And it's a very similar dynamic to the organization that they are working out of, which is like this love first kind of push, but it's almost like a distraction from all the other stuff that you have to deal with. And you have this pastor who's talking up front with a huge PowerPoint screen behind him. This black guy with an African name married to this white woman. It's very, very Texas. It's very interesting.
Not really.
So overall, would you continue watching the series? I kind of want to see what happens once they're on the team and how they are able to split up their time.
I don't know.
Will the Christian girl get married?
I don't know because at some point I think it's going to end my marriage if we keep watching this show.
We definitely had a lot of arguments because Calvin was like, Calvin was saying he didn't have empathy for these girls. One, because they chose this, and then two, they were relying on their looks, and now all of a sudden they can't rely on those looks anymore. And I'm like, I don't think that that's the full context.
But that's pretty much what it is.
Disagree.
I'll take that back. They themselves know it takes a lot to do what they do. But when they get let go, in the back of their mind, some of them they don't think they're cute enough. That's why because especially when you had them change their look to fit a certain aesthetic, as you keep saying,
Mm-hmm.
why else didn't I make it? You keep saying my legs, this and this is this and that. But in the back of their mind, it still goes to they didn't look the part.
My thing is, I don't think that these girls don't have confidence thinking that they're the best of the best. That I think that was another point that was really hammered out was that these girls live in a world of being super critical, whether it's outside the DCC themselves telling them they have to do this or that, or internally themselves feeling like, oh, I'm not measuring up to this or that or whatever. We're hearing girls talk about how like they didn't eat all day because they didn't want to gain weight before they went to practice. We're hearing girls talk about how like they're just going to tough it out when they're in serious amounts of pain because they don't want to lose their spot. Like they're not prioritizing their health in any way. And there is a dynamic, there's a constant discourse around women and looks or aesthetic, as DCC likes to talk about how it needs to look a certain way, but we're also seeing how like that one certain way is not one way. It keeps changing. Like everything else that they say they have to have, that goalpost keeps moving, keeps changing. So I don't agree that it's just a bunch of pretty girls who suddenly realize they're not pretty. I think it's a bunch of girls who are realizing, who are used to being validated externally, but the validation that comes externally continues to change, continues to move around, and they're never going to meet the requirements ever. So it keeps them in a constant state of stress.
I said, in the back of their minds, that's one of the things, especially when someone changed the way you look, whether it be your hair color, the way you do your makeup, whatever, and then they go, you didn't make it. That's all I'm saying. That is part of it too. I don't dance good enough. I don't move good enough. I don't look good enough. Maybe the way my breasts look is not good enough. That also plays a factor into their psyche as well.
There's
That's
just a
all I'm
lot
saying.
of oxymorons that they got to deal with.
And
in
my
this.
and my thing is that sucks, but that's what you chose to
That's what you signed up for.
sign up for in a way. Even though it's messed up. It's a messed up thing to sign up for. But that's what you wanted to do. Even though it's only a 5-year thing.
Yeah, and it's not even guaranteed to be 5 years. There's a girl who only did it for 1.
Not even a guaranteed 5 years. You can get to 2 and get cut the next year.
You can get to 1 and get cut the next year.
It doesn't matter. It fluctuates. To me, they're looking for girls between 18 and 25. Once you get past 25, I think if you make that team, it's because you look young.
You look young and you fit whatever the changing dynamics are for your aesthetic.
That's it. Because there's no way they got 30-year-olds on that team. There's no way.
We don't know. So the other thing is the makeup that these girls have to wear.
I
don't know how old these girls are.
Exactly, but I don't think so. They look a bunch of young girls who got put makeup on.
I don't know, because we got some girls with melanin, and melanin tends to hide your age a little bit better. So I don't know.
They look like a bunch of young girls who put makeup on. They put makeup on.
I don't know.
But it is what it is.
It's infuriating for me. Like, I don't.
And if you're waiting,
like, why?
And you're waiting for the women in that organization to change it, they're not.
That's the other thing. They're like really cemented.
For the dudes to change it
in their ways.
They're not.
Well,
so you're stuck.
I understand your point about the dudes not really wanting to change it. The dudes are the ones that created this in the first place.
Exactly.
But I was really surprised that the women in it were also
Why?
like, yeah.
In their minds, that gave them everything they have.
You're right.
Why would they change it?
You're right. But I don't know. I guess I just hoped that with all of the other ongoing conversations around, women trying to uplift other women, that it wouldn't necessarily be this way.
They're in a bubble.
But it's also Texas. So I don't know what I was holding my breath for.
They're in a bubble of cheerleading and dance. You don't understand it because you're not in that bubble. You didn't grow up wanting to be a cheerleader or wanting to be a dancer.
But it's not that same dynamic everywhere is the other thing.
But it kind of is, though.
You didn't grow up to be a cheerleader or dancer either.
And dance.
So how would you know?
How many, be honest, in your school, when they were cheerleading or dance, all that stuff, how many ugly girls were there in cheerleading?
What's ugly?
Okay, Joanne, now we don't know ugly.
I'm just saying.
Moving on.
First of all,
we don't know ugly.
I went to a school in California, so there's this liberal understanding that's out there already for being on the West Coast. There's this liberal
how many
push.
Girls that you were like, I don't know how she became a cheerleader. She don't look like a cheerleader.
Half of them.
Okay, so you just had a whole thing of ugly girls on cheerleading.
What's ugly? First of all, sports when I was younger, they were not a heavy focus. I can't have a
conversation with somebody who
sports when I was because we weren't college level. We weren't a school where we excelled in sports.
I'll say this:
focus on that.
Playing sports and going and seeing team cheerleaders. It was rare to have an ugly girl who was a cheerleader. You might have a big girl. You have one big girl, and her whole job is to hold all the skinny girls up like the dudes.
Be the foundation.
Yeah, that's it. And even that girl was kind of cute. There's rare.
What I'm saying
that you've seen a bunch of butt ugly cheerleaders.
Cute, pretty, all of that is subjective. We watched a girl that you said looked old as hell, and I was like, I think this girl looks pretty young.
No,
subjective.
Okay. When the camera hit her a certain way, she looks older than what she is. That's all.
Like you said.
That's all.
You have your eyes, I have my eyes. You know what I mean? Like it's subjective.
That's why people say get my pretty side or my good side. Because
even the cheerleaders they showed us, those cheerleaders that we saw, would you say all of them were super pretty? Would you?
No, but none of them were ugly.
But exactly what is ugly? That's my other thing. Like, what is ugly? We saw what the cheerleaders looked like through the decades too. You're telling me all the cheerleaders you saw in the 70s were like hot? They were all pretty?
They were considered pretty to whatever standards they were back then.
That's what I'm saying. It changes. So your standard of beauty wherever you went to school was one thing, and where I went to school was one different thing.
The standard of beauty but they're still easy on the eyes.
For me,
these girls weren't ugly in no decade.
My experience of who made it on the cheerleading team or who made it on the dance team was who had the money. That's how a lot of it was established where I was going to school. Okay. Who could pay for the equipment and the classes and the whatever.
Okay. And where I was from, it was the cutest.
But again, cute is subjective. So it's very interesting.
You're right. I'm just saying. Cute is easy on the eyes. Would any dude, would somebody want to have sex with her? That's how they look at it.
But that's the other thing I don't understand. Because that honestly is like one of their requirements. Will men want to have sex with this
girl?
It.
That's all cheerleading is.
I don't think that's true. But
okay, Javon.
But they're acting like it's not. They're acting like it's not that. Okay. And that's very interesting.
They pick people who people want to be or want to be with. That's how they do it.
Again, though, to what end? Like you said, no one is walking away from those games being like, oh, I love this particular cheerleader. Let me follow her.
But people still want to look at good-looking people being entertained by good-looking people. That's it. It's a formula that has been working since the dawn of time. So I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. That's my answer. I don't know what to tell you.
But my thing is it working? Because you've pointed out people don't follow cheer like that. They don't. So is it working?
They're still selling calendars. They're still making money, supposedly. They're still going USO tours.
Are they still selling calendars? That's
still going USO tours.
That's my other question. I don't know anybody who's using a calendar like
they're
that.
They're still on the top on the totem pole.
No, they're not doing USO tours anymore.
Okay, but they're still top on the totem pole. When it comes to cheerleaders and teams, they're still the creme de la creme.
But for them to be top of the totem pole, we got to know who's at the bottom. And I don't even know who's second. Like what?
It doesn't matter who's second. They're first. No one cares about second.
I don't know. I have 1,000 more questions. It's an interesting docuseries. It's an interesting docuseries.
Pretty much self-explanatory. It's all for the looks and to make money of half-naked females who dudes want to have sex with.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. Something to get them to stay in their seats and keep coming to the games. When the football players, when the team sucks, has something else to come to the game for.
It just cracks me up because they act like you have to be the best of the best of the best, but then they show us like what the foundation was for this, and one of them who's still in the organization goes, yeah, it was just really shaking your hips and snapping. Like that was how we did our trial.
See what I'm saying?
Like, okay.
So they were just doing 2 steps to what she said,
disco. She said
music.
To disco music.
Doing 2 steps of disco music. So what they got, a bunch of females, because they got the idea from the Playboy bunnies. So a bunch of cute-looking females that guys can gawk at on the sidelines when the football players during timeouts or halftime, whatever.
It just cracks me up.
Something to get them to look at.
It cracks me up. They don't get paid much. And the earlier decade girls are talking about how like they would donate their pay back to the organization. For what? What you mean?
It's $15. What I'm gonna do with $15? That's not enough to pay my
One
gas
of them
to
made
get
$35.
there.
Okay.
That's
One of them
that's not even enough
made
to get
$35 a game.
That's not even enough for the gas that I used to get there.
That one girl said she makes the same as a Chick-fil-A employee full time. If I remember correctly, that's about, if you're lucky, maybe 36 a year, 36,000 a year.
Stop. That's not even that. Stop. That's probably the manager.
No, managers make at least 40.
Okay.
But it's low. It's the thing. And it was just, wow. But yeah, it's eye-opening. So if you did want to see a behind-the-scenes look at Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders, that is on there for Netflix. I do recommend it. It was very interesting.
And moving on to...
We got to what, Calvin?
90 Day.
No. Well, yeah.
Love in Paradise.
You want to take it away? You need me to start it.
Kyle and Nika. What was their argument about?
What it's always been about, Calvin sex.
Oh, so she pretty much runs off crying because Kyle won't give up his
donations
and
And didn't agree with her about ownership of her own body.
The not getting the day after pill,
morning after
pill for her, which that's her stupidness. I'm sorry, that's her stupidness. She knew he was going to say no. Everybody knew he was going to say no or not bring it. The fact that she thought he was going to bring it, that's her. So she was playing with her own body. Cal brings up the fact that she was seeing her ex when they were talking to each other.
It was random. She's like, "Why couldn't you just do this one thing for me?" And he goes, "Well, look at this STI test I have." And she's like, "What does this have to do with what I asked you in regards to the pill?" And then he's like, "Well, what about your boyfriend?" And she's like, "What are you talking about?"
I forgot he did that. I forgot he did that.
What are you talking about? And he's like, "I know you told me you're still talking to your ex. And I know you guys probably had sex. You telling me you didn't have sex with your ex recently?" And she goes, "That's complicated." And he goes, "If you're pregnant, it's his. It's not even mine." I'm like, what?
All I know is the way he went squirrel and she went okay was perfect. Was perfect. She's like, "You can do this." He's like, "Look, I just want to show you something. I don't have AIDS or syphilis
STDs or STIs. Yep, I don't have
any
of those.
And she goes, "What?" And he goes, "Your boyfriend." You screwed him, didn't you? And she goes, "That's complicated." Boom. Now she's defending herself.
It was so weird.
About something that has nothing to do with nothing.
In the continuance of their weird relationship, it was weird. Annie, though, finally decides that it's not going to work. If he can't stop and they can't come to an agreement that she is in control of her own body, they can't be together. And she tears up and cries and leaves. And it's Kyle being like, "Listen, I just want to be with somebody who loves me and isn't just trying to get me for my stuff." Okay, sir. Yeah.
No, he's about no one. He wants to be with somebody who is not going to change him and accept the fact that he likes to and other women just to procreate.
Just to add to his long list of children he's not going to support in any way. So, Sean and Aaliyah. Further confusion. Sean is really painting himself to be just why Sean? Why are you doing what you're doing? What's happening? On top of us learning that
the fan that you're using, I can hear it.
So
okay,
it's hot.
Sure.
Anywho, thank you for interrupting me. Sean
You're welcome.
and Aaliyah. Go ahead, Calvin, since I can't talk. Go ahead.
Sean and Aaliyah. Pretty much, Sean is pretty much trying to control Aaliyah because he doesn't want to be with a woman. But Aaliyah wants him to be in a monogamous relationship. But Sean doesn't want that. So now Sean has to make a decision whether he wants to be with Aaliyah. Anything else you want to add?
That Sean thinks Aaliyah is asking for too much. And Sean is hesitant because Aaliyah is finally talking to a plastic surgeon about feminization procedures for herself. Sean's concerned that if Aaliyah gets bottom surgery, that they won't have a relationship because he won't be attracted to her anymore. Great.
Sean really doesn't care about that. Sean is upset because she wants to have a monogamous relationship.
I think it's several things. Sean's upset that Aaliyah wants to be a woman. Sean is upset that the structure they had of their relationship that he chose for them is now being questioned and Aaliyah doesn't want to be on board with it anymore. And then on top of all of that, Aaliyah also wants to go through some cosmetic procedures to further embrace her feminine persona, and he doesn't want that either. But he proposed to her, so I don't understand.
Because of the dynamics of the relationship. He can still do what he want to do. He can still sleep with dudes whenever he wants to, repeatedly. And Aaliyah was not going to do anything about it. Now that Aaliyah wants a monogamous relationship, he has to make a decision.
Confusion. Because he talks about how he has a best friend who's been a friend with benefits for years. And he doesn't want to let that person go. He's not going to let that person go just because Aaliyah wants him to. Aaliyah, who is his fiance, he's like, they're not going to stop me from doing what I want to do. And it's like, if that is the case, drop Aaliyah and just be happy and then just do what you've been doing. I don't understand.
Sounds like that friend is tearing the bottom out.
Or he's tearing the bottom out of that friend.
No, that friend's tearing the bottom out of him.
Nope.
Yep, he is.
Nope.
He's getting it too.
Nope.
Yep, he's getting it.
Nope.
I'm telling you, he's getting it too.
And I'm telling you. Nope.
Oh, he's getting it too.
Nope.
He goes both ways.
Nope.
He's a bottom and a topper.
That's not what they say at all in any way. So you just told on yourself. So anyway.
Yeah, he's a bottom and a topper.
Alex and Adriano.
He's a bottom and a topper. What about him?
You don't remember their story?
He wants threesome. She doesn't. The end.
Alex leads with this story to her cousin that Adriano said he wanted a threesome with her and her cousin.
The cousin low-key wants to do it, but she's pretending like she doesn't want to.
That's gross. So Alex is pushing this whole narrative with her family that Adriano, one, is not a man of God, and two, wants this threesome. And because he wants this threesome, it's because he's not a man of God. And just really pushing hard this rhetoric. Her family's like, drop him. Don't be with him. This is not going to end well. And she's still like, well. And then when she talks to Adriano, he looks so floored that she tells her cousin he wanted a threesome with her and her cousin. He's like, why would you tell her this? I said that just to get a rise out of you. I was not serious.
Said that in confidence to you.
Didn't make any sense. And again, they have the same fight about what they want and how they're not on the same page about anything, but then continue to have this date. And then she has this moment where she's sitting on this boat because they have like this little tour they're doing of the caves. And she's like, she keeps comparing everything to a movie. Like on paper, she's like, me and Adriano in the beginning, it was exactly like a romantic movie. And I know people looking on the outside looking in think that this also looks like a movie, but in real life, it's not. And it's like, girl, what?
No one thinks this is a movie. If we think it's a movie, we think it's a tragedy.
The thing about movies is they are not real, bitch. They're not real. They're fictional.
Or we think it's a scary movie.
They're not real. They're stories. You want to be in a story?
Or a bad comedy.
You don't want to be in a reality? I am confused. I also don't understand why you're stringing this out. You guys don't want any of the same things whatsoever. What? Why? Why?
Got to get through this show to get their money.
Ugh. On to the grossest of the gross, Luke and Madeline. Disgusting.
Madeline was in the bed with another man. And she won't apologize to Luke.
He is throwing a fit that she is not behaving the way he thinks she should behave.
Somebody was sleeping in his bed.
He goes, it's like being with a child. And I'm like, you are correct. Because she's a teenager. You gross person. You want this mature relationship with a teen? How's that working? It's not? That's crazy. That's crazy for you.
That's why she didn't kick the dude out of her bed, because she didn't think nothing of it. So she just went to sleep. That's what kids do.
She's a teen. Anyway, he's just really upset and they're not talking. And honestly, I mean, Madeline eventually gives in. But I was with her because she wasn't budging. She was like, it is what it is. What? And what? Now what? But eventually she does go, I understand that it hurt your feelings, and I do apologize that it hurt your feelings. Is what she ends up telling him. And he's like, that's what all I wanted to hear. Let's go on this insane rafting trip that she clearly hates. But he's like, you look so good. You look so good.
I don't think she hates. She's mad.
She didn't smile at all.
She has to
baby
apologize.
him.
Yeah,
yes.
Apologize for something that she didn't do. Which, that's why I don't have that many friends, because I'm not apologizing for bullshit.
She's in a predicament where he is paying for everything. And for whatever reason, she actually does love this idiot. So I'm sure she's like, at some point, she just reached a point where she was like, well, what's the fastest way for me to just squash this? Here you go. Is this good for the long term of their relationship? Absolutely not. But she's also a teenager. So she doesn't know any better. Anyway.
Somebody sleeping in my bed.
We've got to be close to the finale for this show. My question now becomes, what the heck is Luke's plan after all of this? He doesn't have a job. He's supposed to be moving down there.
No one in this show has
He's
a
supposed
plan.
to be marrying her. What?
No one in this show has a plan for anything.
What?
Just like, what's his face? For Aaliyah. What's that guy name?
Sean.
Sean has no plan of getting out the relationship with Aaliyah or how he's going to deal with it.
Ugh.
Aaliyah has no plan of what she's going to do.
Yeah.
What's the God? I don't forget these people's names so quick.
Madeline's boyfriend.
The one who wants the threesome.
Oh, Adriano.
Adriano knows she's not going to do a threesome. He doesn't know what he wanted. He knows what he wants. He's going to try to get her to do it anyway.
To play devil advocate for Adriano, she did say that she was going to for a while.
It doesn't matter.
And apparently, according to Reddit, according to internet, she changed up to be on the show. She changed up her mind about the whole threesomes thing to be on the show, to give them a storyline.
Well, then
the rumor.
So then he knows the answer. So why is he?
No, he wasn't aware that was what's going on. She made the decision. Well, he wasn't aware. That's why he was like, but you said you wanted to.
Well, now she's in this place.
Yeah.
So I have to take you where you're at in this place.
I guess so.
So move on. Get up and go talk to the 3 girls that was on the beach and say, let's go back to my place.
Call it a day.
And call it a day.
Get what you want. Be happy.
Call it a day.
Lord knows.
The whole time she's wasting trying to get this fool not to want to do threesomes and be with her, she could have probably done moved somebody else on in that place.
She could have found herself another romantic lead, apparently.
Exactly.
Called it a day.
In her comedy of a life. Oh, her
tragedy of a life.
Scary movie of a life, whatever you want to call it. What's the last one? That's 3 of them. The German lady and Kyle. He wants to skeet for the world. Let him and leave him and let him just skeet for the world.
You met him while he was skeeting for the world.
Exactly. Find you somebody who doesn't want who only wants to skeet in you. And then move on.
It makes me wonder if she wants that, though. Especially since she kept the door open for that ex while pursuing Kyle. I don't think she wants that.
Whatever.
Right.
Find what you want.
Ugh.
But that's my whole point. No one knows or has a plan of what they want.
True.
Or want to do.
True. All right, you ready for the Dirty D?
I thought we already did that.
Nope.
Oh, God. Go ahead.
Dirty D. So we kind of gave you a recap of episode 1 for the newest season. I had to go back and watch the other seasons because I was lost in the sauce. I didn't understand who this was, what was happening, where we're going. So let me give you the briefest of the briefest rundown of the previous seasons and catch you up to today. So season 1 of the Dirty D was meeting everybody and establishing the Dirty D as the bar. I didn't realize the Dirty D was literally the name of the club, but it is. It's the bar/club that is owned by Brick and Tiffany while she's alive. It's called the Dirty D, and it's what catapults everything else that's happening. We've got the girls in the club, Kyra, India, Honey, Boom, who is Brick's right-hand man/bouncer. Tiffany is in charge.
And lover.
Maybe. Tiffany's in charge of general management. Her and Brick are married. However, Brick is cheating regularly with like every girl that works at this bar. So there's that. He has a thing with Honey. Honey thinks this is going to amount to something. It ends up not. He moves on to Kyra, who's the brand new girl. Kyra has her own backstory. She's dating a guy named Terrence, who's a cop. They just establish him as an undercover cop. That's not a role. Anyway, her and Terrence are engaged. However, they're also dealing with the aftermath of Terrence's infidelity. He cheated on her and had a baby with this other girl named Keisha.
Terrence can't keep his penis out his baby mama.
He really can't. He'd be stepping back to Keisha a lot. But Kyra can't
he be in there whooping her ass.
Yeah,
occasionally.
In season 1, he lays hands and it's real scary. So anyway, Kyra can't stand Keisha. She's a constant reminder that the fact that he stepped out on her. She's trying to go to school. She's trying to do well for herself, but they are struggling to make ends meet. So that's why she ends up working at the Dirty D. He doesn't want her to work there because he feels like if she's a bottle girl, it's basically establishing her to be a whore, which is not the case, but whatever.
But it happens.
Not really. She doesn't have sex with a bunch of strangers. She gets into a relationship with Brick.
I take that back. She's the only one that can control herself. In the whole Dirty D, she's the only one that can.
Because her best friend cannot. Her best friend India is for the streets. So, But Kyra ends up working at the Dirty D, starts making nice money, starts talking to Brick more. They fall in love. She has a full-on relationship with the married man who buys her a place to stay at. She talks a good game about how, like, she's not the side chick, yada, yada, blah, 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 but does all the side chick
the
stuff.
Side chicks never know the definition of side chicks.
Meanwhile, there's a bunch of other people working against Brick. His best friend, Malik, is also trying to undermine him, do his own thing. He's sleeping with Tiffany, who's Brick's wife. You also have, we get a plug that gets introduced in the second season, who is also part of all of their organization. She provides them with the drugs, which is what the Dirty D is a front for. Brick is fronting the Dirty D to sell liquid cocaine in champagne bottles for elite clients to make more money. We also have all of the cops that are involved. Terrence is a cop, but then we find out he's working for a guy named Captain Bill, and some other people as well. And they all are on this case to take Brick down. He's a big time crime person in Detroit, and they're all trying to take him down. We have another undercover cop named Marcus, also known as Jason, who gets involved. There's a fake death that happens at the end of season 1 where we think Jason, aka Officer Marcus, is killed, but that's not what happens. And then in season 2, we find out who was behind that, and it was Terrence, but it's not really explained why Terrence was doing that. And then Tiffany also passes in the first season, and we open up season 2 with Tiffany's, well, the aftermath of Tiffany's disappearance, aka death. Season 2 is all about the fallout that happens around all of that. Brick and Kyra basically end up splitting up because he goes to jail. At the very end of season 1, they've got him on some trumped up charges for the death of Officer Jason, or Officer Marcus, aka Jason, but also his drug dealing. And they've got him basically on hold until they can get more stuff together. They don't really have a big case around him. They also, we get new players introduced to us in season 2. We get introduced to Yaya and her husband, Javon, which is hilarious, who are Tiffany's sister and brother-in-law. Yaya, for whatever reason, has it out for Marcus. So she blames him immediately for Tiffany's death and also wants to take everything from him. She manages to get the Dirty D, which he had signed over to Malik with power of attorney, but Malik was running that into the ground. He had to go anyway. We also get introduced to Ice, who is Brick's cousin, and he runs the local gentleman's club. And he runs it with a silent partner who is also a cop, just happens to be Terrence's partner, who also gets into a relationship with Kyra. Kyra gets with this man after she can't get into communication with Brick at all. Brick basically like tosses her to the side while he's dealing with his jail stuff. So she starts dating this officer. But this officer quickly realizes that she's got too much history with Brick and Terrence. And they decide to take a break. And then her and Terrence disappear. They just stop. They just don't show up anymore. They're just gone. He proposes to her randomly and disappears. There's a storyline with Terrence and Keisha, whether or not he's the father of her child. We also find out Money Mike, who was a character they introduced in the first season, also might be a possible dad. Turns out they're not the fathers. They do a DNA test, get the results back by this nurse named Lachey, who tells them they're both not the father.
Which ends up sleeping with Terrence for some strange reason.
Lachey gets with Terrence for some reason.
Can't make up her mind about good guys neither.
She is very interesting. She's like, "Are you in love with me? Or are you still in love with your ex, Kyra?" And he's like, "I'm in love with you." So to test him, she tells him about Kyra's pregnancy that she got aborted to see how he reacted. Of course, he reacts in a crazy way because this is the first time he's hearing anything. And she's like, "That means you love her. We got to break up." It doesn't make sense. And her brother is the prosecutor on the case for Brick.
That's what doesn't make sense?
None of it makes sense. There's so many things.
Exactly.
We also have internal affairs that get involved. They say that they've got a case that they're doing on one of the cops.
All of the cops. They're interviewing all the cops.
But they also go and arrest Ice later to put him into witness protection because they want to use him as a character witness for the case against Brick.
Because Ice is pretty much, I guess, their snitch.
But then at the start of season 3, because it ends with Brick hooking up with his plug. Because of course. What was her name though? Of all, there's a lot of characters to remember. There's so many characters. Write them all down. What is her name? Oh, I forgot about Brittany. There's so many people. So many people. Breeze. The plug is Breeze. She comes to bail Brick out in the second season, and then they get together. All of a sudden, they're having a full-on romance for some reason.
They've been having the romance the whole time.
Apparently, she said it's been off and on because they've known each other since childhood. And Brick used to work for her father. That's how they both got into this drug business. But it was established that he married Tiffany, and they hadn't really been doing anything. And then now that Tiffany's dead, and she kind of came back into the picture, they just pick up and they become a couple. And it's like, okay. But then they get some video footage where Breeze was at the Dirty D the night Tiffany died. So now Brick thinks that Breeze killed her. Breeze is like, I don't have no reason to kill her. I don't understand what you think this. But as Brick is trying to figure out or get more information around it, he ends up getting shot. And we end the second season like on that cliffhanger, but it's like there's so many things that are unfinished. Oh, also missing, there's a girl named Nikki that they introduced in the first season who plays a bartender. She doesn't have much storyline. She has barely any storyline. It's almost the end of the first season where it comes out she's a snitch for the cops. She got held up for having drugs in her car in order to get out of having to go to jail and serve time for that. She decided to work with police. She was supposed to be getting information for them about Brick, but she did not. Then all the stuff goes down about Brick. She goes into hiding. She just disappears. And then in the second season, we find out she's been hiding with Boom. Her and Boom started dating. So she's been hiding out at his place this whole time.
This is how Boom pretends like he's straight.
Then we also find out at the end of second season, Keisha's telling Boom that he's also the father of one of her children. This poor baby is the son of so many men. So
many men.
For whatever reason, Keisha can't stay with her mom some more, and she shows up on Boom's door in the second season.
Because she has the mom from Baby Boy, who mom got feelings to.
Her mother, Brenda,
needs to.
Kind of gets into a relationship with the captain. So it's so many things. So second season ends with Brick getting shot, Keisha moving in with Boom, Terrence and Kyra disappeared, gone. IA investigation that's happening for the police precinct. ICE gets put into witness protection. And, India gets kidnapped at the very end of the second season. India is the best friend of Kyra, but also the person who's kind of been sleeping with some people, having funs.
She's Ice Boy girlfriend.
She becomes Ice's girlfriend. Her fiance, he proposes to her.
And
then
Ice,
she gets kidnapped.
Yes. In the third season, Ice just leaves witness protection. Because they say we can't do anything now, so he can go.
So, yes. Now third season, third season, episode 1. All of a sudden, the IA officers, gone. Now it's U.S. Marshals. I don't know when we switched to U.S. Marshals, but we did. The IA, I guess the internal affairs investigation, gone. Done. Because they don't mention it again. So that, whatever. In that first episode, it's almost like they try to pick up right where they left off. We pick up with India and her kidnappers. And I still don't know what they want from her. Other than they're just like, where's Ice? And she's like, fuck you. And then we get the sex scenes that happen in the first episode with the kidnappers, which introduce us to Brittany, who is somebody who who works for Ice and also used to like be with him. But he doesn't feel her that same way. She has a girlfriend and they're trying to run a side hustle to grift one of the kidnappers. They get close to finding out that India is the girl kidnapped, but India disappears by the end of that first episode. So she was kidnapped. Now we don't know where she is. Then we find out Brick's in the hospital. He's not awake. Boom is heartbroken. We find out Keisha has been staying with Boom and Nikki this entire time, and Nikki can't stand it.
And fucking up their relationship.
Yes, basically, because it's him, Nikki, Keisha, and her children, all living with Boom.
Darling Nikki.
You also have like what's going on with Dirty D, like who's taking over Dirty D at this point? Because Yaya had taken it over. Brick took it back, but then he went to jail. So, now he's in the hospital. So now it's a little up in the air of like who can control it. Yaya's trying to get control back for it.
So Yaya pretty much her husband. She's fucking everybody. The lawyer who used to be Brick's lawyer was trying to help her get it back, right, or something.
Was he even in the season 3?
Yeah, he was in all the season. He wasn't in
season 1. Was he in season 3?
He was in season 2. He's pretty much Brick's lawyer.
Yeah, in season 2 he was, but is he in season 3?
Yeah.
We didn't see him.
Yeah, he came in when they had that meeting, and they all found out that Boom now owns the club. He was.
Oh, there. He was there.
Yeah. So, and that's the dude Breeze goes to have sex with because she's trying to get power of attorney too.
Yeah, for Brick. So, you're right. He's there. So that's in episode 2.
So apparently, what the Dirty D is a TV show about women using sex to try to get what they want and never getting it because the sex it's never works.
I disagree. I think it's men telling women they have to use sex to get what they want, and then they ultimately don't get what they want. Because Breeze doesn't go, I can make it worth your while. The lawyer goes, you better make it worth my you better make it worth my
and
while.
all Breeze had to do was like, yeah, I'll give you a whole lot of money.
But you did make a good point. Like, she's the plug. Like, she has some power behind her. She did not need to sleep with
She didn't have to sleep with him.
She didn't need to sleep with this lawyer.
She didn't have to.
But she does. It's so confusing. Anyway,
you would think by now the females know that the pussy around there is not making men do anything, so it's not that good.
You know what really cracked me up was that they give you a recap. So, like, the reason I watched the first 2 seasons is because they didn't give us a recap in that first episode coming back into season 3. When you get to the second episode, then they give you the recap of where we are in terms of all these characters.
So
I was like, why did you wait to the second episode to tell us where we are?
The new episode, what's happening?
The new episodes is the second and third episode. Second episode gives us a rundown and a recap of what the police are doing, and it's them trying to trace back who killed Tiffany, what's going on, who shot Brick, are these related, where's Kira and Terry?
And so now you have the marshals working with the local PD.
Right, for Brick, to go after Brick.
Some strange reason, one of the marshal females, decided that she want to bang one of the local police.
The Puerto Rican.
For random reasons, who knows?
But it's a power dynamic. It looks like they're trying to subvert the power dynamic. So instead of the guys being like, girls, come on, you know what you got to do in order to get this gig. It's her telling the guy, you know what you got to do to get this gig. It's very confusing. So she's sleeping with one of the police officers. It's very random. It don't make no sense. On top of all the other things that don't make no sense.
And then she has attitude when he's trying to hook up with one of his female,
his fellow cop,
co-worker.
It's so
which I don't know why she wants to waste her time messing with anybody in this city.
Lachey,
but let's just do it.
Lachey, who was Terrence's ex, a nurse who did the paternity test. We find out that she didn't do it right. Apparently, there's still there's open paperwork and open paternity still around Keisha's children. It might be Michael, Money Mike. It might be Terrence. But right now, Keisha is telling Boom it's him. So we have that dynamic. Yaya loses her baby. She ends up being pregnant by Terrence, and then she lost the baby. But now she has this whole storyline of like who switched out the paternity tests and why were they switched out?
Because they use her because she's stupid.
Boom gets the club. They have a sit-down meeting with a lawyer who tells him that it's going to Boom. Boom randomly also introduces his girl from Philly. We've never seen this woman before, and they don't explain why she's here. But she's here.
Oh, by the way, Boom went on a killing spree for no reason whatsoever.
Oh, no, we talked about that in the first episode.
Okay.
He was taking lives. So, like,
I don't remember. We talked about everything tied. Just
so many things
together with this show.
It's so many things. But second episode is after the killing spree. So Boom takes over the club. He gets a new outfit. Yeah.
For one episode, then he goes home, finds out darling Nikki has left.
And who has she moved in with, Calvin?
Who?
Do you remember?
Oh, she moved in with one of the local policemen.
Yeah, Sean. This guy named Sean, who used to date Kyra.
So she went back to Sean because there's no other men in this city.
Well, no, her and Sean have a kid together.
So her child is actually Sean's.
Yes.
And so now Boom's going to look for darling Nikki. The whore who's in the house is messing up his relationship is happy now. Why? I don't know.
Because I don't know what her end game is. They just kind of have her be this like pick-me character who just wants to settle with a man. Like, that's it.
No, she just there to cause
Chaos.
mischief and chaos.
But I mean, like, in terms of like what her motivation is, she's just looking for someone to take care of her. Is kind of what they're establishing. She just wants somebody to take care of her and take care of her kids. Like, that's it.
The only reason she's not going to end up dead because Boom's not going to kill her when he finds out what she did.
Now, if I'm writing for the Dirty D, she's the mastermind behind all of this. That's what I would do to make it even more insane. Who shot Brick? Keisha. Who killed Tiffany? Keisha. That's what I would do.
That would only make
That's what I would
that would
do.
actually make it make sense. So no, that's not going to happen.
Oh, we get introduced to Breeze's sister. There's a girl named Jade who apparently was married to Malik. Malik died in the second season, and apparently her and Malik got married, but she did a bunch of studying in Germany to become a doctor for some reason. And now she's seeking revenge. She's seeking revenge for the death of Malik.
I think she was the one who shot Brick.
She didn't know who Brick was, remember? Because she looks at the picture.
She saw the picture.
But that was after Brick was already shot.
No, that's before Brick got shot.
No, because Boom had come to meet them already, remember? I watched all these episodes.
Okay.
I remember.
Okay.
I remember.
Okay.
Because
they're going to make it her that shot
her sister comes into town while Breeze is still trying to get that power of attorney because Brick is in the hospital.
They're going to make him be the one who shot her. Watch.
They're going to make her be the one that shot him?
Yeah, watch.
I told you, it's Keisha. It's good. The mastermind behind all of this is going to be Keisha. Okay. But all of that jumbled mess is exactly where we are now. With if
they make Keisha that's even more dumber because Keisha's too dumb to pull all this
I
off.
would love it. I would love it if all of this ends up being Keisha because that's hysterical.
Well, that's Dirty D.
Yes, there's going to be a long break before we get the next set of episodes. There's only 6 episodes for this season. First 3 have dropped. The back half 3 are not dropping until July. Why? I don't know.
It only makes sense.
Anywho, but that's it for the shows that we've caught. Were there any shows that you watched that you want to give a shout out to?
Not really. I've been watching a lot of anime. So
there's no anime you want to suggest or recommend?
It's an old anime. It's a boxing anime.
What's it called?
I can't. The name is Ippo something.
Is it on Netflix?
It's on Netflix. It's on Netflix now.
Okay.
You can watch it in English. Dub.
An English dub.
Yeah. So it's
cool.
all in English now. You
That's
can watch
cool.
it. There's also like a volleyball one that I was watching. It's on Netflix too.
Oh, I got Calvin to watch Clipped. What did you think of the episode?
Oh yeah, we also watched Clipped. I saw an interview where JJ Redick and Jamal Crawford were talking about it. They were like,
they're talking about the show.
Yeah, they were like, majority of the stuff didn't even happen.
Okay.
They're like, they know it's a show and they had to embellish some stuff for the show.
Mm-hmm.
But they were talking about how Jamal Crawford, like, I don't like the way they got the dude hairstyle for my character. I don't like his hair. She's like, I don't know why they, and they were like, Chris Paul wasn't that small. Chris Paul was bigger than that. And they were like, Blake, they were like, the dude they got playing Blake is like, if you know anything about Blake is not like that.
I don't know what that means.
All.
What does that mean?
They said Blake is more
black.
No, Blake is more. He's more people oriented. Blake is like a comedian. He does. Is trying to be a comedian in real life.
I got more questions. So they're saying he's more personable than the guy who's playing him.
Yeah,
I'm confused. What do they think the guy playing him is acting like?
Because they only say we watched like the first 2. They like couldn't do it no more.
Okay.
Like, the Blake they got. This dude is like standoffish and all this stuff.
Oh,
and
okay.
Like he's
okay.
Like
they're saying he's kind of closed off, but real Blake is not like that.
Yeah, the Blake Blake is goofy as hell.
Okay.
And that's what I was saying. I'm like, that's Blake. Maybe that's him as a rookie. I don't know.
I don't know if you've noticed, but it seems like the narrative they're really trying to push for Clipped is racism. Like they're really trying hard to push that storyline.
But they were like talking a little bit. But yeah, the latest episode.
Yeah.
How this girl only plan was to be famous.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she went a lot of dumb ways. She pretty much did things she already saw people do.
Yeah. To try to be it.
Yes. To try to be it. And it worked for like seconds.
Yeah.
And then
Well, she didn't have any plan after. That was the other thing.
And then she was also trying to figure out. They made it seem like she was battling with her inner self.
Yeah, her internalized racism, yes.
But I think it was more about her inner self with fame, not racism.
I think it's both.
I don't think so. I don't think she cared about the racism part.
The racism part in regards to her is how she gets those tapes leaked. The reason people were talking about it is because of what he said about race. I don't like you being with those black dudes. Him telling his black girlfriend, you're not black, you're Latina.
But I don't think she was internalizing it like that.
Well, I think that's their point. Because, like, there's several times where her, the real person, talks about how she doesn't recognize herself as black. And that's what they're showcasing with her character on the show also. So that's that internalized situation.
Her internalized situation was predominantly based on her trying to find a way to be famous.
I think it definitely was heavy on that. But I think they're also commenting how she also had her own internalized racism she was dealing with as well. On the one hand, she was like, you can't do that. It's, you can't say that about black people. But then on the other hand, she was like, oh, but I'm not black. Don't treat me like a black person.
I guess.
It's very interesting. The latest episode
in an OJ type of way, I guess.
The latest episode for whatever reason, gave us origin stories for everybody. So we got to see how...
Like they're X-Men.
Yeah. So we got to see how the girl kind of learned how to elevate her status in Hollywood. Hollyweird, as I like to say, and how it was just like overtly sexual.
She figured out how to talk without having to give up sex.
Yes, she figured out how to be a sugar baby without having to pay up in sex. She pays up in conversation. But also with Doc, they gave us this whole internalized struggle for Doc and how like
that's why I saw that more with him. That's when I internalized him battling with his own racial. Being
internalized racism.
Yeah, being complacent and comfortable with actually
making a
change.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I saw that dynamic with him. I got that with him.
It took me a while to figure out why they were doing that, but then I realized they were trying to make comparison to the former GM, whoever that guy is. I know him as
Elgin
Reverend.
Baylor.
Yes, him. Because you see how like they have a parallel storyline. When Elgin was a GM, Doc was a player, so he knows him from that world. Elgin was a Clipper GM, and then we get like all of the whys for why Elgin was a GM for so long when it came to his relationship with the Clippers. He was never really, at least in the show, he was never really fully appreciated. He was never really paid correctly. He took a lot of hits being the GM for the Clippers, and then on top of all of that, they were going to demote him on top of that. He was close to retirement, and they were going to demote him. And so he finally has hit enough. He had been trying to play it safe, like the way Doc is trying to do, but it wasn't working. So then he was like, screw it, I have nothing else to lose. I'm going to go ahead and speak out about it. So he becomes like the face of going after the Clippers. It doesn't work. He gets smoked in court, but he at least tried to do something.
But he got the last laugh.
Now after the thing comes out, yes. But it's kind of a reflection of like how, because you see Doc when he was a player during the LA riots, and how like at first he was like, we need to do something. I need to do something to show that, I care about what's going on with my people. And it's his dad telling him, don't say shit. Don't ruin what you got. And it's him looking at his white wife being like, support me in this. And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. It was interesting.
Also, they showed Elgin Baylor. Elgin Baylor was one of the first players to like go to start integration in different schools.
They're like, he's one of the first to play above the paint. I'm like, okay.
Above the rim. Yeah. Because right when he went to Seattle,
mm-hmm.
Before then, all of black players are going to HBCUs.
Mm-hmm.
Him, what's that big, tall, Wilt Chamberlain.
Mm-hmm. I didn't realize Wilt Chamberlain played when he played. I thought he played in like the 80s.
No.
He played in like the 60s and 70s.
60s and 70s. Wilt Chamberlain went to Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Kansas. I said Kansas City. He went and played for the University of Kansas.
Yeah.
Elgin Baylor went and played for Seattle. What's his face? Oh my God, I forgot it.
They're not in clipped, by the way.
Yeah, but he used to be. They consider him the greatest player to ever play basketball before Oh
The
my
point
God.
is, Elgin Baylor is a legend.
Yeah.
And he was being treated like crap.
The other guy ended up going to Cincinnati.
But also, they really painted Elgin as being somebody who said something. Like, that was part of his character. He tried to be as good a team player as he could be, but he was going to say something. So,
Then he went to the Clippers and didn't say anything
for a long time. Yeah.
So, but yeah, pretty much showed that's pretty much what this episode was about.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I'm interested to see where else we're going to go with this. I definitely thought the Clippers.
Also like how they showed Sterling's wife, her dichotomy.
Donald Sterling's wife.
Yeah, and how he literally broke her. That's pretty much what happened.
In my opinion, I think it really related to the era that she also came up in. Like, having a husband meant everything. And even though he stepped out on her, he constantly belittles her. Like, he treats her like crap. She goes above and beyond to save him every time.
Protect him, and he doesn't take her advice.
At all.
Because she's like, I think we need to settle.
Yeah.
He goes, no, they lose.
But it also shows her complacency as well. Because, so they have these lawsuits against them for the properties that they're renting out. They kind of put out there in no uncertain terms that they only wanted to focus on one type of clientele. They wanted it to be Korean people that were living in Koreatown in LA. They weren't going to. They didn't want to have black tenants. And then the properties that they did own, that they took over, that had black tenants, they weren't fixing anything on those properties.
Like, one girl said her mom was like
living in filth,
wheelchair and all that stuff.
She died.
Blind.
Her mom died.
Dying because, like, she said she went there one time and there's like 3 feet of water in an apartment.
Well, she said nothing had been fixed. She watched her mom's health deteriorate because they weren't fixing anything. The toilet stopped working. They never fixed it. So it was just bags of waste that were in the apartment. That 3 feet of water is 3 feet of sewage. It was 3 feet of sewage that she found her mom in. But her mom refused to leave that apartment because, one, she'd lived there forever. And two, she didn't want to give up on this place that had been her home for so long and give a win to the Sterlings. And she died in the process of all of that. And yeah, so all of that's coming out. You got all these testimonies coming out, and Donald Sterling's like, nah, we're not going to settle.
The reason you heard all that stuff because his wife's best friend, like, have you not listened to the tapes or listened to the evidence? She's like, no, let's listen to it and see what's going on. So that's how we get the story of that one lady, because they start listening to the CDs or tapes or whatever.
It was a DVD.
Yeah, she goes, we need to settle. He goes, no. So I guess eventually she hit her limit with this whole new thing in V. And like
because he apparently the V thing also not new.
Yeah.
He had a history of being with these girls.
Yeah, that wasn't new neither.
Getting them stuff.
Yeah.
And then them taking it to the courts eventually. Like, that was something they constantly did.
So the part I like when she snapped in the restaurant, he tried to call himself, raising her voice to her, and she just laughed. And I'm like, fuck you.
She laughed in his face and left. It was interesting. It was hilarious.
And everybody continued to eat like it was normal.
Well, I think that was the other thing the friend pointed out. Like, everybody, they give him the pass. They give him the pass. They try to make him as comfortable as possible. She talks about how, like, he ripped yogurt out of her hand because he felt entitled to it and just walked off. And then we see it.
So
they're really painting Donald Sterling to be this very entitled man.
Old man that
kind of got his way all the time.
Got his way and did whatever he wanted to do. And pretty much how he could have pretty much stopped everything, or if he just took advice, but he never thought he was wrong.
A little bit of humility. Never happens. But also, his wife could leave, and she chooses not to. She decides to stay by him. Her friend's like, you can divorce him. I'll be there for you if you divorce him. And she goes, I'm never getting divorced. She said, I'm never getting divorced. Like, okay.
But yeah, Clipped, if you want to know the backstory about the whole the
leaking of the tape from that Donald
Sterling thing with the Clippers.
How he loses the Clippers. Oh, yeah.
This show is actually pretty entertaining.
It is very interesting. Very, very interesting. But also, like, the dynamics of the players. Like, they find out this guy's talking about how he basically owns them. They're going to do whatever he wants because he owns them. And they're still playing. They're still playing.
I want to know what Matt Barnes thinks about his character, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Matt Barnes in real life, I'm like, if Matt Barnes is really saying and doing that, I don't know how he act like he's so pro-black on in real life, though.
I got questions, though. I wonder if they faced any backlash by continuing to play after all that went out.
No.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Me either. I remember the tapes leaking.
I was
but that's
watching.
the extent.
I really wasn't watching basketball like that
Mhm.
at that point. So I don't know.
I was surprised Blake Griffin was there. I remember him as a Brooklyn Net. So
Yeah, he started in Los Angeles.
mm.
He was a superstar there.
Mm-hmm.
And then they pretty much cleaned house when the new owner got there eventually. And he's pretty much traded everybody off.
Mm-hmm. I've also found it interesting how they really established some players don't get along, like at all.
That's called life.
You said that's regular, that's normal.
I remember slapping the shit out of a teammate.
Well, but yeah, so that's it. No other shows that I can think of
I
other
take that
than
back.
Dining in the Dungeon.
I didn't slap him. But I remember cussing out, yelling at the coach a lot.
Okay, I'm about to watch Love is Blind Brazil. Very interested to see how that's going to work.
El Corazon.
That's Spanish.
El Blunte.
That's Spanish. They speak Portuguese in Brazil.
Okay. Keep telling yourself that.
What? Anywho, there's a lot of black folk in there. I'm excited. I'm like, okay.
El
Let's see.
Corazon. Que hora es?
That's Spanish. The Heart. What time is it? That's what you said?
Yes. Glad you know your Spanish. Someone paid attention in Spanish class.
I'm from California. You have to pay a little bit of attention. You're so crazy. Anything else?
Nope.
There's no shows you're looking forward to?
I gotta look. I haven't looked at what's coming out or what's about to come down. I normally find my shows by accident. Channel surfing.
Oh,
I mean,
we should
well,
watch
this
the
ain't channel surfing, but
we should watch that stripper one you found on Tubi.
Okay, no.
Yes.
There's pretty much a stripper pole contest.
Yes.
Show on
Yes.
Tubi that I regrettably found that I know she would eventually watch.
Yes.
I should have kept it to myself.
We should
That's
watch
my
it.
fault.
We should watch it and recap it.
I apologize, people.
Who's gonna win, Calvin? Who's gonna win?
Some heifer name.
Not Heifer.
Blue eyes or diamond ice.
Not Heifer.
With glitter on her booty. I don't know.
All right. Well, that's it. I hope you guys have a good rest of the week.
Booty butt cheeks.
Thank you for listening to We Like That podcast.
So we like that.
Go ahead and click that subscribe button. You know you want to. And rate us 5 stars. I'm Javon.
I'm Calvin.
Later, people.
And we're out.